Welcome or welcome back to the channel. My name is Sarah and today will be a short Friday reads for y'all, and I will include a book haul. I mentioned one last week and I just haven't filmed it, so we're gonna include it here because I've only read a few things the past week. I've just not been reading very much, kind of taking a few days to relax, you know. So at the top of the list, and I will say one of these books kind of put me in a slump. So top of the list, I read 2 arcs and 1 indie. I'll get the arcs out of the way. The first one is The Gentleman and His Vowsmith by Rebecca Ide. This one is the one that I'm going to blame for my little slumpy slump there this weekend. I really absolutely loved the beginning of this. This is a kind of a locked room mystery. We have 2 families who are coming together in marriage. We have Nick and Lady Leaf. Nick is the only son of I think he's a viscount or a baron, something like that. And so Nick is being married to Lady Leaf. And in an old tradition in this country, this world, they are doing a lock-in in which both families are locked into the house together, and the Vowsmith, the magical scribe that writes the contracts, there's a couple of Vowsmiths in there with them, and they stay in there for a certain amount of time while the contract is ironed out and written, that sort of thing. Nick is kind of a disappointment to his father. He doesn't really get along with his dad, and then Lady Leaf is a fun, kind of eccentric woman. I really liked her. But they get locked in, the 2 families, and then bodies start to pile up. Now, I was really excited for this, and the first bit I really liked it. I thought it was really engaging. I liked the writing style. But I think what happened for me at about the 30, 50, and then onward percentile is that the author tried to put too much into it and it ended up feeling muddy, and I didn't get any heavy impact from anything. So we have murders happening with an unknown assailant. We don't know who's killing these people. I didn't mean to hit my microphone, I'm so sorry. We have murders happening. We don't know who's doing it. And there should be a tension there, right? Oh my God, am I gonna get murdered? That sort of thing. That's not really, it doesn't really exist until the very last portion of the book. Not only that, but one of the first people to be murdered is the man that's described on page as Nick's like pseudo father, because his own father is so disappointed in him, and you know, so disappointed in him. And this, what was he? A valet. The valet basically raised him. He's one of the first people killed. There's very little grief on page, and that, you know, that happens repeatedly. Some of the deaths I can understand because they weren't big people, but we didn't feel the impact of any of this death that was supposed to add to the tension, so that didn't work. And then there was the romance, because it is called A Gentleman and His Vowsmith. One of the Vowsmiths, the magical scribes, had a history with Nick, and they have this sort of rebudding relationship happening. And I didn't like it, one, because Dash was kind of cold. This was a single point of view book, so that could have been part of the problem for me. But also Dash does something fairly early, because the intimacy in this is hot and heavy kind of early, and he says something that, like, there was no groveling, and there should have been far more groveling. So the entire book I was like, I don't like this guy. So there was that. And I just found Nick to be kind of boring as a point of view character. He was very reactive. He was not very proactive. Sure, he went out and looked for things, but things still mainly just happened to him. I much preferred Lady Leaf, who was very proactive. She was looking at things. She was finding things. She was very funny. So yeah, I just didn't end up really liking this, and it was a slog to get through because it was so dense, and because there was no actual impact getting felt. It didn't feel good, so I didn't enjoy it very much. I ended up on a 3, but I don't know that I would recommend it. Nah. The other arc that I read, and that one so Gentleman and His Vowsmith is out already, and this next one is Hemlock and Silver by T. Kingfisher. It comes out in August. I really liked it, which should surprise nobody. I do love T. Kingfisher. This is not my favorite T. Kingfisher, but I do really, really like it. It's a little bit slower in the start, and this is about Anya, who has a fixation on poisons, and specifically their antidotes. When she was young, a cousin of hers died from hemlock poisoning, and she became obsessed with finding a cure for hemlock poisoning. She never did, but it kind of bled into her finding cures for other things or looking for treatments, and she has become an unofficial healer, and she is asked by the king to help his daughter who is kind of wasting away from a sickness, and they can't explain what's happening. They assume it's poisoning because she doesn't seem to be actually sick, but she is slowly dying. So she is brought in with his retinue, and they go to this like desert oasis palace because this whole thing is set in like a kind of desert style setting. And she has to figure out what's going on with Princess Snow. And it had a little bit of a slow start, which is I think my only problem with it. It's just a little bit slow in the beginning. After about 30%, you start to get the little inklings of what's happening, and then it got really good, like it always does with T. Kingfisher. If you find mirror stuff creepy, so if you don't like the idea of a mirror world, like on the other side of a mirror, or if you don't like things creeping in the mirror, you could go in with care. But it was fun. It was good. It had her like trademark humor. It had a lot of like the kind of whimsy tones in it. We had a very stubborn, has to find the logic and reason in things and doesn't believe in magic main character. There was a straight-faced, guard who was kind of her foil, and there's a sprinkle of romance, of course. But it is a T. Kingfisher. You're going to get what you're going to get. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I still don't know if this is one of her indies that has been reprinted, but I enjoyed it nevertheless. And I did pre-order a copy because I, at this point, own almost every T. Kingfisher book. I think I'm missing one. So I will be picking this up because I liked it. As always, I recommend T. Kingfisher, but I know she's not for everybody. And the final thing that I read, this is what saved me from a slump after I finished The Gentleman of His Valsmith, is Demon World Boba Shop. Oh my god, I talked about this last week, by R.C. Joshua. As you can see, I bought my own copy because this is so good. All right, I'm sorry. This was delightful. This was an absolute joy. This is the first, let me think about it. Yes, this is probably the first and best comp to Legends and Lattes that I can give you. And it's only similar to Legends and Lattes in that it's a fantasy world and our main character is opening a shop of sorts with a drink beverage. This is about Arthur, and Arthur he dies early, he dies young-ish in our world, and he wakes up, and this godlike being is like, so here's the thing. As many of these like lit RPG progression fantasies start, he tells him, you died in a weird way, and your soul is kind of in limbo. I can send you on to heaven or hell or wherever you're destined for, or because of extenuating circumstances, I can send you to another world, and you can live life again. So, of course, who's going to be like, oh. So Arthur's like, okay, yeah, I'm down for that. So the guy says, give me a one-word description of the type of world you would like to go to. And Arthur talks to him about it. And he's like, a lot of humans from your world choose adventure. Some have picked harem. Like, it's kind of funny. There's some jokes in there. But Arthur, who is a workaholic, settles and he says, I just want to go to a nice world. I want to go somewhere where everyone is nice. The world itself is nice. Just somewhere nice because life was rough. So he ends up in this place he just calls Demon World. And these individuals call themselves demons. They are not demons at all. They are like mostly, so this is on the cover, this is Mizu. She is a water elemental. There are sparrow people, rabbit people, lots of animal people. There are other like elemental people. So there's metal elementals. They're very cool. We meet an infernal who is like your typical, like if you think tiefling from D&D, horns, red skin, that sort of thing. There's a wood spirit who turns things to wood around him. And he wakes up in the street in this world, and people take him under their wing, and he gets unofficially adopted by a family because he wakes up in a younger version of himself. And this does something I really like in this situation because he wakes up younger. He's like a young teen, maybe, I think 15, 16. His memories of adulthood and Earth are very faded. He remembers things that could help him with his class that he ends up with, or he remembers some things, but other things have been stripped away so that he can't negatively or impact this world in a way that would throw it out of balance. And this world is very balanced. It has been through a rough period. There was war and fighting, and now they have come full circle back to a sort of utopian sort of place. So it is a nice place. And the whole plot of the book, we watch Arthur get used to the world. He fights monster waves with the town. He meets villagers, he meets townsfolk, he gets a shop, he makes friends, we see him explore, we see him save lives and become useful and work, and it's just so cozy. It's so cozy and so good. This is the closest Legends and Lattes alike that I can recommend, and I really do recommend. If you want something, it's a little longer than Legends and Lattes, but if you want something with that level of coziness that's just super fun to read through and creative, I would say go with this. He ends up opening a boba shop, but he doesn't just make bobas, and the bobas are not just a boba tea. They do other things. He learns to infuse them with magic, that sort of thing. Just fantastic. I already started the second book. I fully intend to read through this series in the next few months, weeks. This is my like on the phone book that I read while, I'm waiting in a drive-through line or for my daughter to finish at jiu-jitsu when I can't see her on the mats, that sort of thing. So yes, highly recommend. Absolutely love this. It's on KU as well, so pick it up there. Just very sweet. Also, the romance in this is so cute and wholesome. The scene where he first sees his romantic interest, which I think it's obvious from this who that is, it killed me because he was just like, and there she was, just being the most beautiful person I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, oh, it was so cute. I really enjoyed this. Highly, highly recommend R.C. Joshua. Hit it out of the park, and I will continue and also try his other books because he has a couple of other series out there. So 5 out of 5 stars. Loved it. So that's everything I've read. I am currently reading I think it's called A Place for Us by Hayley Kiyoko, who I'm pretty sure that's the singer Hayley Kiyoko. And it is much better than I expected it to be, so I'm very excited about that. It is a sapphic historical romance. So far, I would recommend it, but I'm only like 30% of the way through, so I'll report back next week. I am also reading The Night and the Moth because there is a live show this weekend with a couple of my friends I'm going to attend, so I will put the announcement post for that on my channel I'll put the announcement post for that on the channel when Heather makes it. I think those are the only 2 things. Oh, and I'm like 10 pages into Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood. And so speaking of this, we're going to go quickly into this little book haul that I thought I would give y'all since this is going to be a shorter video. I did pick up Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood. This is a age gap romance between a young girl and her brother's best friend who is 15 years older than her, and I think it takes place at her brother's wedding. I have sworn off Ali Hazelwood for a while because I read her first book and loved it, and then I tried the subsequent other feminist books and the short stories and disliked all of them intensely, but I thought I would try this one because it's been a while. She's surely somewhat improved and diversified. That was my problem, was they were all the same. So we'll see how this goes. I already like the quippiness and the dialogue of it, so that's a win. And I do have Deep End to read, so we'll see. I did, as you saw, get Demon World Boba Shop Volume 1. I fully intend to get the rest of them once I read them. I am trying hard to read things before I buy them. I've not succeeded on all accounts, but I am reading stuff as I get it. I have, let me reach behind you, The Night and the Moth. As I mentioned, the cover is over there. I just have the standard edition because I'm not going to go out of my way for fancy ones very often anymore. Which is Night and the Moth is Rachel Gillig's newest book. I suppose I should introduce it, talk about it briefly. It is about a seer who gets paired up kind of against her will, very much against her will. She ends up seeking out this soldier she has met to help her because her fellow seers are going missing. And in this world, the seers are sought out for answers, sort of like the oracles of a Greek tradition. But this is like a more of a Welsh or an Irish feeling world to me. It's very green, lots of ruins. I don't know. I really love the feel of Rachel Gillig's worlds. And this is fantastic. Her sisters, the oracles, they're not technically sisters, but they grew up together. They all go missing. There's 5 of them. She is the last, and she escapes and goes to find this soldier. And he and the king and the other guards are doing something I shan't spoil. And she asks them for help, and they say, if you help us do our task, we'll help you find the other oracles. And so that is what is happening. I am halfway through, so I'll definitely finish this before Sunday when the live show is. So keep your eyes peeled for that if you're interested. I have Everybody Wants to Rule the World Except Me by Django Wexler because I adore How to Become a Dark Lord and Die Trying. I know I'm going to adore this. I had this pre-ordered and I did not cancel it. It was one of the few that's escaped the great cancellation of 2025. So I'm going to read this probably after The Night and the Moth because I also have the e-arc of this to read. My mom picked up Behooved for me by M. Stevenson at Target. I think it's very pretty with the pink pages. I was reading it in the book section and I liked the little bit I read, so she got it for me because that's very sweet of her. This cover is stunning. Also, there's a horse. Have we talked about how I'm secretly a horse girl? Because not so secretly, I'm a horse girl. I did buy my own copy of The Scattered Bones after I read it because I loved it and I would reread this. So I have talked about that in the previous video. Please look at last week's if you're interested. And the final, let's see. Yes, the final, nope. I was going to say these 3 things that I have gotten. This is basically all of June. I've done really good for myself on June as far as purchases go. May. This is all of May's purchases. The Dragonbone Chair by Tad Williams. I'm part of a group that is reading this series. What is it? The Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn series. I will technically be rereading it because I read these as a kid, but I needed the first copy of this book because my copy is a mass market with the cover coming off. It's a really old one. I needed a new copy to annotate and write up. The live show for this is June either 21st or 22nd. So end of June, we'll be talking about this. And I believe we're going to be on Erin from Booked and Busy's channel. So as soon as we have more information about that, I will post that link. And I do need to post the announcement for this on the channel. So I will do that soon. And this is an classic epic fantasy about chosen ones, a war, all this stuff. I'm not going to go into it, but it's basically about a kitchen boy who rises up to be much more than he thought he ever would be. We have The Devils by Joe Abercrombie, which has been a big buzzy title. I'm very, very excited for it. The first edition is stunning. So there's deckled edges, which, hot take, I love. I love this red cover. And there is very cool artwork here. This is about, is he a bishop? He is a bishop or a brother. He's called Brother Diaz. He is given this like group he is going to preach to or something. He's given a mission, and everyone that he is given as his followers, as his flock, because he works for the church, they're all devils. They're all sinners of some sort, and they're, scoundrels or whatever, and they have to succeed in some mission or something for the church. It sounds fantastic. I've fallen for the hype, clearly. So we will see. This is getting a lot of buzz online. If you haven't heard about it already, I would be shocked. And the final thing that I purchased is The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson, which is another book that I fell for the hype for, but I'm very, very excited about. It's absolutely stunning with a silver foiling, and it's hefty. Like hefty. And we've got French flaps, which is nice. Which is nice for an Orbit book. Yes, this is about a young woman. I believe she is a scholar, and she is part of a retinue that could inherit the throne from this king that dies. In the dizzying heat of midsummer, 7 exceptional warriors, thinkers, and strategists compete to replace him. When one of them is murdered, it falls to Nima Kra, the emperor's brilliant, idiosyncratic high scholar, to find the killer and fight for the throne. So we'll see what happens. And it's got an omnipresent kind of maybe narration. We'll see. I'm not sure. Now I do have publisher mail. Let me show you my publisher mail from the month. So top of the list, the newest one that I didn't think I was going to get, but I did get. So 3 of these are from Saga Press, and one of these is from St. Martin's. The first one is A Forbidden Alchemy by Stacey McEwen. It says, all Nina ever wanted to become is an artisan. All Patrick seeks is a craftsman revolution. Will they choose their greatest desires or each other? Peaky Blinders meets Six of Crows in Book Talk star Stacey McEwen's new slow burn romantasy. I'm super interested in her other series, but it is dystopian. And I try as I might, 95% of dystopian books, I hear dystopian and I'm like, checked out, don't care. Nope, don't want it. So it is an immediate turn off word for me. So I struggle to pick it up, but this I'm excited to try. I will definitely be picking this up very soon. This comes out on the 1st of July, as you can see here. So I will have a review up for this, a written one, and an Instagram post and everything, as well as here on the channel. Another one that comes out in a couple of weeks. This comes out on the 10th. That's Flight of the Fallen, Mage Bike Courier Book 2. This is a sequel to Road to Ruin, which I really loved last year. I thought it was fantastic. It had an ending that broke me and then tossed me outside and kicked me some more. So you've been warned. And this is a sequel to that. And Road to Ruin was about a mage bike courier who ended up, they were being paid to take love letters between two cities in this desert-like world, and something happens and she ends up also transporting a princess that she didn't expect to, and they get lost in this world and the ruins of it and what's happening with this desert and these big domed cities. You can see one there. I'm very excited for this. It comes out, like I said, on the 10th. If you have not tried The Road to Ruin, I highly, highly recommend. It's by Hannah Lee. So fantastic. There is a pile of books here. There is like definitely a romance that develops into something more. I hate to spoil it. We got When We Were Here by Daryl Gregory, also from Saga Press. Saga Press, I love you so much. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is let's see, let me just read you this because it's kind of hard to explain. From award-winning author Daryl Gregory comes a madcap adventure following two friends on a cross-country bus tour as they grapple with love, family, secrets, and the very nature of reality in a simulation. So it's about two friends who have been best friends for ages. One friend finds out his cancer has returned and it's very aggressive, so they take one last adventure across North America's impossibles. It's a week-long bus tour to visit these places. The physics-defying glitches and geographic miracles that started cropping up 7 years earlier, right after the announcement that revealed our world to be merely a digital simulacrum. The outing, courtesy of Canterbury Trails Tours, promises the trip of a not completely real lifetime in a not completely deluxe coach. It's all 21st century pilgrims, each of them on a tour for their own reasons. There's a nun hunting for an absent god, a pregnant influencer determined to make her child too famous to be deleted, a crew of horny octogenarians living each day like it's their last, and a professor on the run from the leather-clad sociopaths who take the Matrix as scripture. I think this sounds hysterical, so I am very, very excited for this. Every time I pick it up, I'm like, oh god, I want to read that right now, but I just don't have the time. I will say, though, this book has like Bible thin pages, so it's much denser than it looks at a glance. So there's that. And finally, we have, as far as publisher mail goes, from St. Martin's, I got Melina and Marguerite, a love story in Ravensbrück, and this is about World War II. This is I don't believe both of these women were Jewish, but both were interred in internment camps during World War II, and they meet and fall in love there, and it is their story. It comes out August of 2025, but I will try to have this read next month for Pride Month. I'm going to try to include a lot more of my queer books and queer recommendations for next month because it is Pride, and this seemed like a great one to pick up. I'm very excited for this. I think it looks great. I believe that, yes, there are photographs and like letters and stuff. She's gone through and found firsthand sources, so we will see how this goes. I'm very excited. There are a lot of footnotes, which is something I always look for. Not footnotes, but sources listed in the bibliography. And finally, I did get some used books because I took a lot. I'm trying to watch my language. I took a lot of books to the used bookstore and then spent all of that credit. So one moment. I don't like to keep used bookstore credit because then I get a itch that I really want to go, and I'm very busy and I don't always get the time to go. So when I get credit, I try to spend it. So I went up to pay and I had a bunch of credit left over I didn't expect. I had been given a box of Korean language learning books to get rid of, and I kept some of them, but some of them I but took to the used bookstore, and they got a lot more credit than I thought. So I turned around and I was like, okay, I'm going to read this series, so I'll just go ahead and get these nice editions that are here on the shelves. I didn't end up paying any money. I still had like $2 of credit left over, and that is the second, third, and fourth book in the Plated Prisoner series by Raven Kennedy. I have the first book in this edition with the gold edges. over there. It was a Christmas gift. I'm very interested. I know the first and most of the second book are kind of rough to get through, but I do want to read it. It sounds very much up my street, so we'll try it and see. That's about a young woman who is gold touched by King Midas and is kept in a cage, and she is somewhat in love with him, but as we find out that he is not a good guy, and she is suffering from maybe some Stockholm syndrome, and it's a romantasy about her escape and them overthrowing the king. Another novel that I got was The Sanatorium by Sarah Pierce. This was recommended to me by my local librarians a couple weeks ago. Was it when it might have been when I was doing volunteer work, or it might have been before. I can't remember. This is another locked room mystery. The newly renovated Hotel Sammat, a former sanatorium high in the Swiss Alps, has long been plagued by rumors. When Detective Ellen Warner's estranged brother Isaac and his fiancée Lori invite her to celebrate their engagement, Ellen reluctantly accepts. Arriving in the midst of a threatening storm, she immediately feels on edge, and when Lori suddenly vanishes, she must trust her instincts to hope they find her. When the snow cuts off all access to La Sammet, the remaining guests start to panic. Then another woman disappears, and she is the only person who could have warned them about just how much danger they are all in. The librarians told me it was fantastic, so we will see. And I know that she's also written another book called The Retreat, so if I like this, I will try The Retreat. And finally, I got very lucky and found All the Skills by Honor Ray, which is is this just progression or is this lit RPG? It's one of the two. It's lit RPG. New skill gained. There it is. So I'm very, very excited. I've had this on Kindle for a while, and this was actually my planned series to read after Demon World Boba Shop, so I got super lucky. I never go into the used bookstore looking for specific things. I just leave it up to chance, and this time I got super lucky. So how many times can I say that? It says Arthur, another Arthur. Maybe I should make a video about Arthurs. Arthur lives with his father, a fallen but proud former noble in Border Village number 49, along with the other good folks condemned to toil in service to the Baron. But Arthur has an edge, a stolen heart card that secretly fell into his possession thanks to a dragon. It's a priceless source of power for the Baron, and the tyrant will kill to get it back, and valuable too to a young man of spellcasting ambitions. So at the behest of his father, and to save his own hide, Arthur flees and joins a trader caravan on the kingdom's backroads. Mile by dusty mile, he gains new skills and learns more about his increasing capabilities. But when he meets Horatio, his tongue-sharp new best friend and a spell card collector himself, Arthur discovers the greater powers to come by building on the legendary card hidden close to his heart. So they have to, one step ahead of their hunters. They forge on under a sky full of guardian dragons, from an adorably loopy to the mystically wise and their unflappable riders. Amidst danger, rescue, friendship, both humans and those creatures of leather variety, Arthur awakens to a newfound confidence. So basically, it's like a card collecting sort of setup, but with skills. It's called All the Skills, and I think I remember reading on the subreddit, that's the gimmick, is that Arthur is trying to get all of the skills. He's trying to learn all of the things. And that is if you've played Oblivion or Skyrim, you know. That's what you do. My husband is in fact doing it right now on the remastered Oblivion, and I'm probably going to do it a few months too. So that's part of why I love lit RPG, is because it's very much like a video game, and I do love video games. And I have had that on my list to read for a very long time, and I was super, super happy to see it at the store. So that is Little Book Haul. We're back to a normal, longer timeline on this video, and the things that I've read in the past week. Let me know what y'all have been reading. Do you have any recommendations? And, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll talk to you guys again soon. Thanks for watching, y'all. Bye.